Good afternoon, I'm a modern warfare historian and welcome back to the Warfare Room Operation. Last time we discussed about the Japanese invasion at Rabaul. The Imperial headquarters had now New Guinea and the Solomon Islands on site. To ensure enough air cover, on the 9th of February, the Surumi airstrip was invaded as long as the Gasmata village. Around 170 soldiers were left as a garrison, while the main strength returned to Rabaul. 2 days later, the airfield was operational. By the end of the month, the Japanese had the following airstrips in the area: Lakunai, usable by fighters; Vanakanau, under repairs but already usable by land-based bombers; Kavieng, long but difficult to use after rains; and Surumi, usable by carrier-based fighters. The 24th Air Flotilla had in the region 83 planes, and the region was divided in the 4th Air Corps, which had 27 A5M Claude, 12 A6M0, and 9 G4M Betty; the Yokohama Air Corps, that had 8 H6K Mavis; and the 1st Air Corps, that had 18 G3M Nell plus 9 planes at Tarawa in the Marshall Islands. The Japanese started to plan a landing at Salamaua and Lae. On the other hand, the US was planning an aerial raid against Rabaul. Task Force 11, under Admiral Brown, made up of 1 carrier, the Lexington, 4 heavy cruisers and 10 destroyers, was spotted on the morning of the 20th of February, around 350 miles northeast of Rabaul. At 10:15, Lexington's radars picked up a contact 56 kilometers out, and 6 fighters were launched. 2 of these planes, under Lieutenant Commander John S. Thatch, found a H-6K-4 Mavis flying boat and shot it down. Later, another contact was picked up, and Lieutenant Stanley and his wingman were sent there and shot down another Mavis. A third plane was spotted, but the US fighters were unable to intercept. At 18:16, a large group of enemy planes was spotted, and 12 US fighters were sent. The 9 enemy bombers were intercepted at 11,000 feet, and 5 were shot down. The 4 remaining planes dropped their bombs, and 3 fled away. 2 of the 3 were shot down by planes. The bombs fell 3,000 yards short of the Lexington. The 4th plane, damaged earlier by AA fire, began a strafing ground for the carrier, but was shot down and crushed in flames 75 yards astern. A second wave was spotted, and the only 2 fighters were sent to intercept. The guns of Lieutenant O'Hare's wingman jammed, so the wing leader continued alone. He shot down 2 bombers and damaged 3. Only 4 bombers dropped, but missed by 100 feet. In the meantime, O'Hare shot down 2 more bombers and caused a third to crash into the sea. Admiral Brown, commander of the Task Force 11, and Captain Sherman, the commander of the Lexington, stated that O'Hare, who just became the Navy's first flying ace, saved the carrier. Of the 4 that dropped bombs, 2 were shot down by fighters, while an SBD shot down the third and damaged the other. This was remarkable because the SBD was not a fighter. At the end, the Japanese had lost 2 A6K-4 Mavis and 16 G4M Betty, plus 1 damaged that ditched into the sea while returning. Only 1 Betty escaped. The US lost 2 fighters, 1 pilot of the 2 parachuted, while Ensign John Woodrow Wilson sank with his plane. 4 of the fighters were damaged by friendly fire, including O'Hare's plane during the landing approach. The Americans, having lost the element of surprise, turned back, while the Japanese rescheduled their operations by some days. The Japanese landing force was composed of 1 light cruiser, 1 mine layer, 6 destroyer, 1 seaplane tender, 5 transport ships, and several gunboats, to land 1 infantry battalion, 1 mountain artillery company, and several supporting platoons, such as engineers, medical units, signal units, and anti-aircraft. The first landing craft landed unopposed on the 8th of March at 5 to 1 a.m., just as an Allied plane left a nearby airstrip. The Australians had evacuated the zone the earlier night, and the airfield at Salamaua, the township, and Kela areas were captured by 4:30. Special Naval Landing Forces landed at Lae and occupied the airstrip and the town unopposed. After dawn, a single Hudson bombed the transport 3 times, slightly damaging the Yokohama Maru, killing 3 and wounding 8. At 1 p.m. on the following day, the airfield was ready to be used, and 2 heavy AA guns of 8 centimeters diameter were disembarked. Another Hudson raided Lae, resulting on light damage to the destroyer Asanagi. The 4th Air Corps was to be moved to Lae on the 10th. However, bad communications resulted in catastrophic delays. An Allied task force was present in the Gulf of Papua: 8 heavy cruisers, 14 destroyers, and most importantly, 2 carriers, Lexington and Yorktown. The mission: strike the Japanese landing. To do this, they needed to pass above the Owen Stanley Range, a 100-mile flight over wild and unknown mountain, around 3 to 4,000 meters high, that had the tendency to change rapidly its weather condition. However, it was known that most likely between 7 a.m. and 10 a.m. the pass would have been free from the clouds. The strike was composed by the following squadrons: Lexington, Dixon Scouting 2 with 18 Dauntlesses, Hamilton's Bombing 2, 12 Dauntlesses, Brett's Torpedo 2, 13 Devastator, Thatch Fighter 3, 8 Wildcats, and Commander Holt on a lone Dauntless. Yorktown had Birch Bombing 5, 17 Dauntlesses, Armstrong Scouting 5, 13 Dauntlesses, 12 Devastator, and Pedersen's Fighter 42 with 10 Wildcats. Commander Holt was important because his job was to cycle over the Stanley Range and report any change in weather. The first planes left at Lexington at 11 to 8 a.m. The first wave was airborne. The targets for the first wave from Lexington were the 3 transports near the Lae shore. The 3 ships were hit, with 2 being sunk and 1 set on fire. Also, 1 at the Salamaua harbor was sunk. A cruiser was set on fire by a 500-pound bomb and believed sunk. A 100-pound bomb hit a minesweeper, it caught fire and sank. A destroyer was hit near the depth charges that exploded. A lucky shot from a Japanese AA gun hit a Dauntless. Ensign Joseph Philip Johnson, pilot, and J.B. Jewell, aviation radioman 3rd class, were killed in action. The fighters, noticing this, started to strafe ground targets because there were no enemy fighters nearby. Of the 13 torpedoes, probably 3 hit the targets with success, as early US torpedoes had a lot of flaws. 1 1,000 bomb hit and another near miss was scored on what the pilots identified as a Mogami heavy cruiser that actually was the mine-layer Tsugao. The fighters, being quite happy on the trigger, strafed the AA guns, dropped their 30-pound bombs on the Lae airstrip, and proceeded to put holes in a cruiser, destroyer, and a small auxiliary, starting some fires and killing some sailors. They then noticed a Japanese A-7K Alf float plane annoying the Devastators and intercepted it. Lieutenant Noel A. Geiler claimed the kill. Before turning back, the fighters strafed again some auxiliaries. Yorktown's raid was less fantastic, because the Japanese noted that some of their ships were being blown out of the water, so the element of surprise was lost. Also, a lot of the juicy targets were already burning and sinking, while the others were moving targets now. A cruiser near Salamaua was attacked, but no hits were reported, so they strafed a gunboat. The cruiser was attacked again with 3 direct hits and 3 probable hits reported. Other bombers attacked but scored only 3 near misses. A nearby destroyer was hit by 3 100-pound bombs and a gunboat was machine gunned. Can you guess what Yorktown's fighters were doing? Yep, doing strafing runs on small boats. I guess that it was quite a bad day for the Japanese sailors. The torpedo squadron, that was actually armed with 500-pound bombs, attacked the seaplane tender, that received a direct hit. 3 US planes received damage from another A-7K that was then damaged by the rear gunner of a US plane. The A-7K received damage to the foreplane and sank after landing. Birch squadron divided in 2, with one section hitting at least 3 times on both of the targeted auxiliaries near the beach, and then use machine guns silencing at least one deck gun. The other section targeted an auxiliary, but results were undetermined. Pilot kill claims are always inaccurate and exaggerated. This is understandable, as you are usually being fired at, and you can stay days observing a ship sinking to confirm it, and the ship gets repaired. Anyway, the American pilots, after returning safely home to the Owen Stanley range, reported 5 transports sunk, 2 heavy cruisers sunk, 1 light cruiser and 1 destroyer sunk, 1 mine layer probably sunk, 2 destroyer and 1 gunboat seriously damaged and probably sunk, 1 seaplane and 1 gunboat damaged, and 2 seaplanes shot down. They lost a scout bomber and 11 slightly damaged planes. After the raid, 8 B-17 bombers and 8 Australian Air Force Hudson bombed the harbour. Damage inflicted unknown. The Japanese in reality lost 3 transport, namely the Kongo Maru, Tenyu Maru, Yokohama Maru, and the minesweeper No. 2 Tamamaru. The destroyer Yonagi received medium damage, as long as the transport Kokai Maru and the seaplane tender Kiyokawa Maru. The light cruiser Yubari, mine layer Tsugaru, destroyer Asanagi, and the minesweeper Tamamaru received light damage. The army lost 6 soldiers and 17 wounded, while the navy lost 126 sailors and 240 wounded. Japanese fighters missed the battle as they arrived between 1 and 3 p.m., with the last US plane landing on Yorktown at 12:01. On the next day, however, they had their chance when 5 B-17 and a single Hudson bombed Lai. The Hudson was shot down, but the poor conditions on the runway resulted in 2 fighters damaged. There is no doubt that the damage inflicted by the American raids was remarkable. However, it did not dislodge the Japanese from New Guinea. The torpedo performance was disappointing, only 3 were probably hits. Under favorable conditions, this could have been 9. Still, this can be considered a mini revenge for Pearl Harbor. But what will happen next? Will the Japanese retaliate or change something? Join me in the next episode to find out. Thank you for watching, and remember to always monitor the weather condition.